At the outset, I would like to thank IAAS for having invited APARI to be a co-organizer in this International Agriculture Innovation Conference 2021. And my special thanks to Dr. Cheng Wai, Dr. Hironori, and my friends, Professor Zhongru Li and Michael Few. Well, topic of my presentation is strengthening agri-food research and innovation for sustainable agriculture development in Asia and Pacific. I work for APARI, which is Asia Pacific Association of Agriculture Research Institution. And let me go to the next PowerPoint. Yeah, my coverage will be having a brief on the organization and a kind of a recap on challenges in agriculture in achieving sustainable agriculture development goal, then how in APARI we are addressing agriculture research, development, and innovation. Then I'll be briefly touching upon the agriculture innovation system, and so also on the operational challenges in the region. If you look at the technical challenges, it's a small recap only for most of you who know about it. There's an issue of climate change, land degradation, biosecurity, biodiversity, and the issues of being production-centric, market access and linkages, and natural disaster, which is actually affecting our agriculture to a very great extent. The challenges of climate change, the greenhouse gas emission, as you all know, is very huge. And agriculture itself, unfortunately, here contributes 25% of the greenhouse gas emission in the overall emissions which impact the climate change. So there is a kind of a great paradox. Climate change impacts agriculture and agriculture impacts climate change. So we need to be very careful of when we talk of climate change. Now, if you look at Asia Pacific in this map, the maroon color shows the highest level of vulnerability. You see how in the Asian region, the risk is the highest in terms of climate change at a global level. Some parts of Africa and major part of Asia Pacific, we are highly susceptible to climate change, and we all are seeing the impact also in our life. If you look at the loss and damage in agriculture by three major sectors, you will see losses are highest with fisheries in places like Fiji or in Myanmar, and maybe a bit in Philippines. Losses are highest on crop science in most of the countries in the region, and with livestock in Nepal and Vietnam and few other countries. So overall, there's a huge loss from all these sectors. If you look at the number of people affected by hunger post-COVID-19, you will get three scenarios very clearly. Whereas we had, till 2019, we had about less than 700 million which were living with hunger, food insecure. And with the COVID scenario in 2019 onwards, there were three scenarios which came up. And now what is speculated globally, this figure, which was at about less than 700, will go to more than 900 million within next 9 years, which means there is an increase speculated for 200 million people to be food insecure in the COVID scenario. So this poses big challenge to agriculture, because of the 7.7 billion people in the world, About 2 billion people are food insecure, which is quite a huge amount. 2 billion people are food insecure. Of these 2 billion people, over 1 billion lives in Asia alone, where we all are. Our Asian continent, which of course is the largest continent in the world, having 60% of global population, we have 1 billion and more in food insecure people. Whereas in Africa, there's about 0.7 billion, and the rest in Northern America, Europe, and Oceania. So there's a lot of challenge for the region of Asia Pacific. And when you look at the Asia Pacific scenario, what have we achieved with the Sustainable Development Goal? I'm sorry, I don't have a latest picture, but about 2 years back, or 3 years back, what we found, of these 17 goals, majority of them, we were not even halfway mark, barring the goal on quality education and on partnership for the goals, or maybe no poverty. In general, we were much behind. This is coming from United Nations Economic, Social, and Commission for Asia Pacific. The situation is very grim for Asia Pacific. Will we be able to achieve the goal? Very likely not. COVID has compounded the problem, and we really need to look at very, very smartly now. APARI, where I am working, our basic mission is strengthening agri-food research and innovation for sustainable agriculture development in the region of Asia and the Pacific. We were established way back in 1990 by Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. And we have 4 clear thematic areas. We have members from various backgrounds, like their country members, the international research organization, higher education sector, and so on. We have more than 80 members across the world. And we work on the sponsorships or the funding from various global agencies, as I have listed here. We have recently opened the office or a kind of a representative place in Papua New Guinea. We are going to expand our activities in the Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia islands in the Pacific also very shortly, and we are in discussion with them. How we work in APARI, what is our way of working? We operate through an implementation of a 5-year strategic plan with thematic areas of natural resource management, of risk mitigation, of inclusive development, and of policy and advocacy. So, and we make our biennial operational work plan. We scope, we develop, and we secure projects, and we facilitate implementation. Partnership and networking is the key for us in APARI. We focus on knowledge management, the maximum, followed by capacity building, innovation, and policy issues. So we can do whatever we can with our partners in our limited capability. We cannot do all, but we try to do maximum with whatever is feasible within our capacity. So as of now, just to give you a glimpse, I'm going to give you an overview, not to speak about individual project. I'm giving you some of the major projects we have from Council of Agriculture Taiwan on Asia Pacific Consortium on Agriculture, Biotechnology, and Bioresource, where we work across the region, on Agriculture Science Technology Indicator, funded by Australia in the Southeast Asia and Pacific. Then we work on ASEAN pesticide residue detection in few countries, outreach and communication strategy with India basically, but with other members also. And research to policy we have from, we work across the region through Australian support. Agroecology, which was just mentioned before my presentation. Agroecology and Safe Food System Transition in Southeast Asia is a project we have started with 28 partners with the support of European Union and French Agency for Development. Then we have projects specific to Bangladesh, a project on global plan of action on forgotten food by FAO, and also one project already on hold with China on agriculture innovation system in China. Now, very quickly, because time is short and I think we have overshooted time, and my time started when the time was to be finished for the session. So I may not read these PowerPoints. I can share with all of you whenever you want. You can just send me a mail. These are details of the agriculture science technology project. Then we have other projects of policies which are there. We have the details here. We have details of Asia pesticide residue mitigation project for promotion of biopesticide, which we work with WTO, a standard trade development facility, with USDA and a lot of partners in the region. Aim is for promotion of biopesticide. Then we have a project for Bangladesh with details here, a project for agroecology and safe food system with large number of partners. And also in the biotechnology and bioresource, recently we have organized about 20 events. All public proceedings have been published, and we have done more than 19 events with the sponsorship from Taiwan. And the most recent is we are bringing a policy document through a series of webinars on genome editing, which has become very crucial now. So I'm just running through my slide to save time. And now coming to the agriculture innovation system. This conference is on the innovation. So I thought it is the right place to talk of agriculture innovation system, which we are popularizing through the Topical Agriculture Platform of Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. We are working across Asia and Africa on developing the agriculture innovation system guidelines, index, indicators, and all, which is a multi-stakeholder thing, because agriculture is increasingly involving complex interaction among stakeholders at multiple levels, as you can see: research, education, business, enterprise, political system, science and technology, science sectors, technology from other sectors. All this has to be bound under one system, which system perspective was we are trying to bring. And we are focusing on the capacity to innovate. How can you let people do innovation? There has to be a capacity for innovation. And capacity to innovation comes from the functional capacities, which are capacities to navigate the complexity, to collaborate, and so on. These capacities are to adapt and to respond in order to address the changing levels to bring up the innovation system. And we do capacity development at three levels: at the individual level, at the organization level, and at the enabling environment level. So it is not only capacity building of the individuals. We have recently done, under the banner of FAO, kind of joint rapid appraisal with another organization, EPIRAS, on regional landscape for agriculture innovation system in Asia. We have some findings here. We found a lot of issues to be addressed, which now we are going to zoom and take up in a bigger way. I'm not going at all in the details of it. The point is the whole Asia agriculture innovation system is now being reviewed by our team under the banner of FAO. And we are going to see how we can really bring innovation system at all levels, individual, institutional, and enabling environment in the coming years. So well, these are the conclusions of our rapid appraisal. I'm sorry, I'm running through. Now we are blending with a couple of projects with functional capacities. We are actively supporting what we call the innovation capacities. So these are some of the projects which we are doing in various ways in the region. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not going to read it. Why we are doing, I want to highlight, because we find technical training, though it is very important, it's not enough. Farmers are responsible for implementation of production changes and accountable for their own success. highly technical project, very highly technical projects, as we are listening to many speakers, they are missing out the human aspect that speed up technology application. Only science, technology will not work. You have to bring the human aspect. These human aspects we need to measure in soft skills, what we call functional capacities. So soft skill training that matches the need of the industry is a major determinant of project or institutional success, is what we are now trying to promote. Also, with the help of FAO, we are going for collective action on forgotten food by Global Forum of Agriculture Research with other regional organizations in Africa and Mid-Asia. We have developed a regional manifesto under the banner of European Union and some global organizations, with 3 regional manifestos coming up on the importance of forgotten food, which we want to mainstream by co-learning and co-innovation with the farmers. We have developed a global manifesto and prepared a global plan of action in the FAO Science Days. And I'm happy to say now this is being taken up by United Nations Food Systems Summit. And after this has come as an approved, stamped global manifesto, we are going to have projects all over the world to mainstream those food which we are not giving much importance, which are beyond the staple crops and which have high nutrition value, and for which we need to look for the value chain with time. To sum up what we are doing, we are bringing together a range of different organizations and knowledge needed to create successful agriculture innovation at the local level, right from a village to a country, to a region, to the whole world. We are trying to connect all the partners. We are influencing strategies and policies to promote the innovations as a means of strengthening agri-food system. So there are challenges. There are 3 challenges. We cannot do anything. Economies are diverse. You have Australia here, you have Laos there, you have Bangladesh, we have rich and very poor country in the region. There's a high level of bureaucracy in the governments in the region. Politics is very volatile, as you all know, like Afghanistan is a member. What will happen next? Will Taliban be a member, or what will happen to that? We do not know. There's a lot of political volatility in the region, but where we can focus, but there are challenges, is resource crunch for policy piloting, functional skills which are missing, and difficulties in convergence of stakeholder and ideas. These 3 points is where we can work, but we cannot change the top scenario at our level, which is more political. So with this, I would like to thank all the APARI partners, donors, and members across the world, and for making APARI what it is. And my thanks again to IES and to the organizers for having invited me to make my presentation. Thank you, one and all.